list, but he was discouraged by that. And we had lunch in L.A. at the Bel Air Hotel. One day I just happened to be in L.A. and he was there for something else, and we got together and had lunch. And after we finished, he was feeling, I think, philosophical. You know, he's feeling a little bit at loose ends. He didn't know what he was going to do next and how he's going to, you know, do something successful. And he said, you know, over these years, my favorite part of everything is when we laughed. And I had to agree with him, but it was absolutely true. And what the story meant, what he was referring to, was when we worked on projects, we would get very tired. So we'd shoot, for example, a movie, and we'd be in there at 7:30 in the morning, and we worked till 7:30 at night, and then there'd be dailies. And then at 9 o'clock, we'd show up somewhere else at a recording studio to record a song that was going to be needed maybe the next week. You know, so we had to get this thing done. So it's 9 o'clock in the evening. We're going into 14 hours now. Somebody would deliver pizza. We'd eat some pizza. We'd start recording the song, and we'd be working till 11 or 12. And then we had to be back in the studio at 7:30. So we're really tired from all this. And at that time, we were vulnerable. And somebody would muff a line. Somebody would say, you know, I expected you to go, oh, and you would start to laugh. And then somebody else would start to laugh. And we just completely crumble. And we were hopeless. We couldn't do anything for 20 minutes. And one specific time, we were recording these little bits called Dial-A-Muppet. And the idea was you would dial a number, you'd pay $2 or something, and then we would tell you a joke. There would be a 60-second Muppet bit that you would hear. And we were recording these on a similar set of circumstances. We had been in the film studio all day. We were tired. It's 11:30 at night. We're still making Dial-A-Muppets. And the way it was set up was Jim and Frank and I were there that night, and we stood in a circle. And in the center was a stopwatch. It was about a foot in diameter. It was a big clock face that would time a minute. Stands and see that clock in the background and sort of time ourselves. We'd speed up or slow down so that we could come out to time, you know. And get on with it. Get this story done. I want to do something funny. Anyway, at some point I had to do one by myself. We're all exhausted. Frank's here, Jim's here, and I'm trying to read my bit, and I made some little mistake on the first take, and Jim started laughing. And I said, Jim, don't start. Don't start. We can't go there. And he said, don't worry, I'm okay. I'm all fine. So I do the next take, and I see him shaking. I see him over there shaking, and I stop. I said, Jim, I'm gonna crumble if you don't stop. I said, why don't you just get out? Because I'm doing this one by myself. Just go out in the hall. You and Frank go out. And he said, no, I'll be fine. I'll just get behind my music stand. And you know, a regular music stand is this big, with a rod coming out of the bottom. And he got down behind his music stand. And I'm supposed to do it. Frank gets in the drum room, which is just behind me. It's a little booth that's not quite soundproof. And you know how Piggy sounds, that high-pitched sound? When Frank starts really cracking up, he sounds like that. He just whines. I can't do it. I demonstrate I can't do it. So I hear Frank whining behind me, and I start reading the piece, and then I see the corner of Jim's sleeve sticking out, shaking. And I lost it. So, and then we all had to just stop working for about 20 minutes. And I know that we've left a trail of engineers all over the world who just think, these guys are idiots. How could they do anything? You know, they're completely incompetent. But that, you know, that was part of it. And that was Jim's favorite part. It was certainly my favorite part. I was glad to hear him say that. So,
I was wondering, was there a reluctance or a fear to fill those characters, and then when did that change? Because like obviously with Merry Muppet Christmas Movie, they all started coming back again. What was the thought process there? How did you decide to start bringing all the core Muppets back front and center again?
It's really hard because each character comes from the performer, and they're an aspect of the performer's personality that we all know that, and so most of us are reluctant to do somebody else's character. I mean, I would avoid it at all costs. I hate doing somebody else's character, even if it's just filling in during a scene, because I know my rhythms aren't going to be the same, and even if they're going to replace the voice, it's, you know, I would prefer that somebody else gets stuck with that. Some of the characters, Kermit came back pretty quickly because they wanted to do a television show, a little special. It was a tribute to Jim, about 6 months later. And so they asked Steve to take that on, he kept Kermit at his house for about a month and didn't get him out of the box because he was just too emotional about it. He didn't want to even think about taking that on. And then the show started approaching, and he had to try. And he got out Kermit and tried to work with Kermit. And as he did it, he really felt that he just didn't have it, and he wasn't sure he could do it. And as he went along, he started thinking about the way Jim looked when he did Kermit, because we were all face to face, you know, we were all smashed together working. And he started making the face that Jim made when he did Kermit's voice. And he started miming or mimicking Jim's gestures. Like if you asked Jim a question, he'd go, I don't know. And he had all these things that Jim would do. Steve started doing them. He kind of became Jim for about 5 years. It was annoying. That's how, by trying to become Jim and act and move and shape his face the way Jim did, that's how he nailed Kermit. And he got so close. I can't imagine anybody doing a better Kermit than Steve does. You know, it's not Jim, but even Jim evolved over the years. Gonzo's evolved over the years. He's different than he was in the beginning. Some of the characters drift. They change and they evolve, and some don't. But Kermit, there were a lot of different Kermits while Jim was doing it. You know, he had different personalities in different phases. So Steve is really consistent with all that, I think. It's a miracle. Same thing with... You got it? Steve, Frank?
Is that at the Mesa?
Arizona Museum of Youth.
But you know, Frank's own personality mix created Fozzie, and so somebody else has to find a way to construct that. It isn't going to be. It's not part of Eric. He's a different person. Hard to do. All this stuff is hard to do. So some characters never got reintroduced, you know, because partly we didn't want to face it, and partly we didn't know who could do it. And by the time we did Very Merry Muppet Christmas, we got, and Oz especially, we got like Scooter. We found that Ricky Boyd from Atlanta could do Scooter pretty decently, and so he was sort of cast as Scooter. But then he's there, and he's not with us all the time, so we have this problem of, well, does Ricky come in if we have Scooter doing one line, or we have him loop it, or what? You know, it's just complicated. Time to go? dailies, and then at 9 o'clock we'd show up somewhere else at a recording studio to record a song that was going to be needed maybe the next